Hello and welcome back to Master Wire Jewelry. We are diving in now to the wire weaving. In this video I want to show you how to do this figure 8 weave. I most commonly use this weave to make my bails. I really like how it's really easy to separate the base wires and make a space between them. You can also use it to capture the edge of a cabochon stone. However, this gets a little bit tricky, so I might not teach exactly this technique in these videos, but it can be done. You can use it like this. But today in this video, I mostly just want to concentrate on the weave itself and how to do it. The whole next module is going to be focused on how to use all these different weave types to capture different objects and stones especially. I like my stones, so we're going to focus on stones. So today, I've got 2 base wires. You can use anywhere from 20 gauge, up to 14 gauge if you want. These happen to be 14 gauge. I wanted to use the thickest wires I could just so that it was really clear to you what I'm doing here, and I'm hoping you'll be able to see these really clearly. When you first start out, I do recommend you go with thicker base wires just because that's going to help you not bend these as you weave. My weave wire that I'm using today is 24 gauge. I don't recommend you use 24 gauge, but again, I wanted just a slightly thicker base wire so you can see what I'm doing. I recommend you use 26 gauge or even 28 gauge if you're having trouble keeping these base wires straight. So when we do our figure 8 weave, I often leave a gap between them. If I wanted to capture the edge of a stone, I would want that gap to be fairly parallel. However, when I do my bails, it's not at all. It goes from skinny to fat and back to skinny. So the shape of these base wires, although I would recommend shaping them before you weave on them, it doesn't have to be straight and parallel like this. That's just what I'm going to do today for you. So I've got my weave wire. I'm going to just start with one. I'm going to work within like a couple inches of the edge of my wire here, because working over here means that I have to work all the way around this wire. And this figure 8 weave is one that slides down your base wires really easily, even when it gets really long. So I can always work fairly close to the edge. So I'm going to go this way. This will be my top wire. And I'm going to coil around 3 times. Remember, this is like tying a knot. So now I've tied a knot connecting my weave wire to my base wires. I'm going to bring in my second base wire. And now my weave wire is going down in between my base wires. So when I come up around this one, I'm actually switching the direction that I'm wrapping around. Let me get a hold of this. I'm going to tighten that up. And I'm going to go around twice. Do not try and do this with only going around each wire once. Always go around twice. There we go. And now I'm going to go back to my first base wire, and I go down in between, and again down in between, so twice. Now I'm going over to this bottom base wire, down in between, down in between. So always twice. You can do this, whoops, maybe one more time, and then you're going to want to compress your weave. So to compress your weave, it's the same thing. You need a set of grabbers, something that has a nice sharp corner on the inside here. So not your round nose pliers, any of your grabbers. Now, I am gently grabbing my pliers so that they're touching my base wires, but I'm not grabbing my base wire and sliding it, okay? I'm actually just sliding my pliers over my base wires without actually grabbing them. But you see how they hit these weave wires? Well, that allows me to kind of press, not grab, but just press them over this way and compress these. So now you can keep weaving after you've done that. So I'm ready to go back to the top. And you go twice in between. And you just keep working until you have the length that you need. Always go in the same direction between your weave wires. I like to go down and away from me. If you find it's more comfortable to come up towards you, then just do that consistently and it'll turn out. If you haven't figured out why this is called a figure 8 weave yet, it's because you're kind of going, can you see that? In a figure 8 around, it's a double figure 8 around your weave wires. Okay, so squish everything together and keep going. One variation you can do on this weave, besides of course changing the shape of your base wires, making them go wider or narrower, instead of doing 2 wraps around each base wire, you can do 3, or even 4, but you gotta be careful. I wouldn't recommend just jumping straight into 4. Sorry, I'm trying to grab my wire here in the right spot. There we go. Let me show you what 3 looks like. It literally just means wrapping 3 times around. I wish this would focus, I'm sorry. There we go. Around each base wire. And I'll do this just for a little ways so you can see the difference that it makes in the final weave. Let me just do a couple more here because you can't really see until you get a few. One thing about this weave is that if you're using a thinner base wire, these base wires do want to pull together, especially as you start adding more wraps, because now this has to go on an angle back each time. So let's do a couple more so you can see the difference here. I just had to squish things in. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If you find as you're working that these are starting to come in, do just a little adjustment so that they're not pointing in, and that's going to help you keep them straight. 2, 3. You'll notice that my holding hand is always right next to where I'm weaving. I'm not holding it back here trying to see what's going on. I'm always holding it right next to where I'm weaving, and this is part of how I brace these base wires so that I'm not bending them in ways that I don't want to bend them. Alright, I think this is going to be enough that you can see the difference in my weave. So the first half here has the double wrap, and the second wrap here has the triple wrap. And there's just a little bit of space, so when I put something behind this one, you can barely see it. And when I put something behind this one, you can see it a lot more. As you work towards the end of your base wires, simply pull them out. Okay, I want to do a little short area with a quadruple with 4 wraps instead of 2 or 3, just to show you the difference again with what that's going to look like. It looks exactly the same. We're still going down between our base wires. 3, this time I'm going to do 4. But you see how much more distance 4 wires has given me. So now when I cross, it actually has to go on a diagonal backwards. And that's when these really start to get pushed together. 4, tighten it all up. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want them to come together, that's great. If you don't, then you just have to fight against that. 3, 4. Give me a little more room to work here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's tighten that up so it all looks uniform and nice. But now you can see I've got my double wrap here, my triple wrap here, and my quadruple wrap here. It kind of spaces it out, so when you know, there's something in behind here, you almost can't see it under your double wrap. You can see it a little bit under your triple wrap. You can see it even more under your quadruple wrap. You can make as many wraps as you want and spread these cross pieces out as much as you want if you do want to see through them. However, you lose strength and structure the more you stretch these out. So it's totally up to you, and it's going to depend on your design what you want to do here. But this is our figure 8 weave. A great thing about this weave is if you do want to work next to the end, but you actually want the weave way down here, you can stretch this weave out and it actually travels down your wires very easily. Takes a little bit of fiddling, but as long as you're compressing things as you're working, they will go back into a really tight compression once you get them where you want them on your weave wire. Cool. Thank you for watching. This is the figure 8 weave. I am going to continue on with a few different weaves in the next videos, so I hope you enjoy. Pick your favorite, practice it, practice it, practice it. You will make mistakes, that's okay. It's when you learn to not make mistakes and get some consistent weaving that this starts to look really nice. So if you like this one, try it out. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.